How do we get and stay sober? That's the $1 million question. So I've been watching a lot of people lately on YouTube and elsewhere on their idea of how to get sober. And there's some good ideas out there. There's some not so good ideas. There's some ideas that work for certain people, but not necessarily are going to work for you. Um, I had a pastor that at my church once talk about one time how he was able to help somebody get sober, and his idea of getting sober, of helping somebody get sober, was to tell them, I am not going to talk to you anymore unless you quit drinking. Like, you're done, you're cut off. And to me, that was a real harsh way of doing it. I mean, that's one way of doing it. Um, but for some reason, it felt weird because he kind of took credit for helping him get sober. He said that the man kind of went his own way, felt terrible, um, and decided that he was going to take his word for it and quit drinking. And months went by. His wife talked to uh, talked to the pastor. She told the pastor, "Thank you for what you did. I mean, you helped get him sober." And to me, it was kind of like a. I'm not going to say he was like fabricating that story, because I mean, I don't really know the truth of the matter. But for me, the truth of the matter is, it takes different approaches for different people. Like, it's not a linear journey. It's not. Uh, you just wish you could be sober and you can will it, and like you can't be willed by other people, in my opinion, uh, to be able to do that. And so let me flip this and make sure that I've got this on the right setting. Okay. All right. So we can't will people to quit drinking. It's just not the way that it is. Um, I if somebody told me that I had a problem, and I did have people tell me that I had a problem with alcohol, no doubt about it. Um, that made me want to drink more. It didn't want to make me quit. I mean, really. I mean, it hurt my feelings. It made me feel like, why bother? Uh, I'm just going to keep on drinking. In fact, I'll drink more at you. So that pastor telling me that story really kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And he was just kind of filling in there. I think he's a member of the congregation, and he was filling in. But I watched another one yesterday, another YouTuber, and he had a philosophy on his. He didn't really share it. Um, but for me, my philosophy on how to get and stay sober is is simple. You have to want to be sober. It's not going to happen if you don't really, truly, in your heart, want to be done with alcohol. It's just not. And that's really the key, is once you decide that you don't want to drink anymore, and really start to make a plan of action. I mean, not one thing, not two things, not three things, certainly not willpower, not doing it alone. Uh, all these things. If we want to, hi Mila, or is it Mila? um, if we want to be done with alcohol, we have to, in our hearts, tell ourselves that we are done. We just don't want it anymore. And once we can get to that point, because for me, alcohol caused so much turmoil in my life. When I was younger, it was innocent. It was fun. It was, I didn't have like a family. I didn't have responsibilities. And as my drinking went on and progressed, and even into marriage, it still wasn't presenting problems for me because I mean, um, I just, I wasn't angry. I was happy. I was happy to be married. I was happy to have a child. I was happy to live my life, um, and keep on like things were working out. When I lost my job in 2016, and then I um, had some problems with one of my daughters, and it was causing friction in my marriage. Uh, that year was very trying, and I didn't know what to do. I wasn't able to find a job. I wasn't able to. Um, I wasn't able to like. I was just getting angry. I wasn't able to find my path in life. I was lost, and I really didn't want to talk about it with anybody. I didn't want to talk about it with my wife. I didn't want to talk about it with a therapist. I didn't want to fix myself. So I really started jumping into alcohol like in 2017, really desperately, really bad. And so for me, it took 3 years of being on the fence about my drinking. I went back and forth. I prayed. They were like half prayers. They weren't full true prayers. They like I really didn't um I wasn't like convicted in my idea of being done with alcohol, but I knew that it was causing me a lot of problems. So what it took for me was the beginning of the pandemic, and basically not having any sports to watch, not having any entertainment, no new movies coming out. Once I ran through the movies and TV shows that I wanted to watch, there was nothing to watch. Uh, so I just was starting to get bored, like bored out of my mind with drinking, and that's really what ended up happening. So I the bottles and cans started to accumulate in my garage, and we couldn't take them back, and so the recycling centers were all closed. So I was watching uh, all that accumulate, and I was just thinking to myself, "Is that's all going into my body? I mean that can't be good." So I just kind of started to look within. My binge drinking sessions were getting earlier and earlier in the day. I was starting to drink at 2 p.m., 1 p.m., noon, uh, and I would justify it by at least I was waiting until the afternoon to have the drink, start drinking, and I would drink all day, and by like 7, 8 o'clock at night, I mean I was just kind of blacking out, and just kind of in and out of remembering things and being able to think about things, and but it relieved my anxiety around the pandemic, so that really did kind of quiet that. But when I'd wake up in the morning, man, it was like I did this again to myself, and then I would think, well, what am I going to drink today? Go to the store, get more booze for later, uh, beer, booze, whatever, and then start that cycle over again. But what really did me in was hard liquor. We had vodka in the cabinet above the stove, and it wasn't mine, it was my wife's. But I would go in there at the end of my binge drinking session at the end of the day at like 9 o'clock at night and take a shot of vodka or two. Um, and that really put the hangover like over the edge for the next day. And I didn't do it every night. I did it like at the end of a week binge, like a 5 or 6 day binge, and then I would do that, and then I would be so hungover that I didn't want to drink for the next day, and I kind of would swear off alcohol for a day or two, but then I would go right back at it, and that went on for 6 weeks. I did that for 6 weeks. I would drink like all day, every day for 5 days. And at the end of that 5 days, I was seeking more solace. So I would drink those shots of vodka, and it'd be more than 2 shots at that time. It was like 3 or 4, or I might mix it with like some lemonade or something to make it a little bit more tolerable. And I would just wake up just feeling terrible. So after about a month of doing that, I'm like, man, I can't control it. I'm not controlling that urge to further drink into oblivion. So it's out of control. My drinking is out of control at that point. So I end up getting down on my hands and knees hungover one day and begging God to take me out of that addiction. And I tears pouring down my face, like, man, like ugly crying, like, yeah, yikes, man. Like this is for real. Like I really need God to uh I wasn't really necessarily asking for him to help me quit drinking, but I was just asking him to take me out of this pain because it was pain that I was in. It was brutal. So 2 weeks went by or so, and it was another one of those nights where I was dipping into the hard liquor after drinking beer all day. I typically would put my daughter to bed at like 9 o'clock at night, and I was getting resentful about the fact that I was having to like put her to bed every night. She was only 5, so it wasn't exactly easy to get her into bed. It would sometimes it would just take an hour to from brushing teeth to putting on pajamas and getting everything ready for bed, reading a story, all those things. And she wanted to read stories. She wanted me to read stories. And rather than looking at that like it was truly a blessing, I was looking at that like, why is it me that has to put her to bed every single night? Um, Sometimes I just want to sit out in the living room, zone out, and not have to worry about that. Well, I just let it go. It was so here comes 10 o'clock, and here comes 10:30, and by like 11 o'clock, one of my older daughters comes out and says, "You're drunk. You want me to put Penny to bed, my daughter to bed?" And I'm like, man, I'm not drunk. How dare you? How dare you tell me that I'm drunk, man? And nobody cares about what you have to say. And no, I don't need you to put her to bed. So I just got totally uh, defensive, and to the point where it was like, "Are you serious? Like, are you really like serious right now?" And I used to have this thing where I would go back and forth from their room, my daughter's rooms, to the living room, and back and forth because they didn't want me to talk. But I would be so angry that I'd be like wanting to get my point across, like how you crossed a line, and they didn't want to hear it. So I'd try to lecture, but then I'd just end up getting more and more mad. And I went to her door. I said, "Nobody cares about your opinion or what you have to say." And of course, that was hurtful to her. I felt bad for saying it, and then my wife was trying to intervene, and then I got mad at her, and it was just an ugly, ugly blow up. And of course, I was in and out of like blacking out, so I didn't know exactly what everything that I said. I just know that I was angry, and I woke up the next day. I told her, like I just I'm sorry, that I did that, that I said that, and I apologized individually to each one of my daughters and then my wife. And it was at that time that I said, I think I need to just not drink anymore. And I'm afraid that I'm doing good, Allie. How are you? How you doing, Jake? Welcome. My name is Josh, and I'm just talking about a little bit of a story about how I came to quit drinking. It was that blow up that basically got me to look within and say, I got to find a way. I have to find a way to be done with alcohol. I don't know that I'm going to be able to just quit cold turkey because, like I said, I was drinking every day, earlier and earlier, and more for like 6 weeks straight. And I feared that I was going to have um, like withdrawal symptoms. Um, so I ended up. I said, I might quit, or I might just like cut myself off, like wean myself off of alcohol. But I think I need to be done. And it was that day that I mean, my heart rate was like 120 and it wasn't going down. I was full of anxiety and fear, and I was just like loathing myself, like just hating my behavior and just regretting all of it. And I got to the point where I was like, all right, time to make a plan. So it was like I just let myself heal that day from the hangover, and I woke up the next day and started to make a plan. I started Googling how to control my drinking, how to yeah, it is sad. uh that was 5 years ago, so that's way long gone now, but there's certainly people that are still stuck in this. So that's really why I started this channel, was to help people um try to find their way to a better life, to a sober life. um a lot of us can't control our drinking. I mean, if you drink like I did, you drink one after another, and there's never enough. You're never satisfied. You just you need it. You need it to survive. You need it to cope. You need it from the moment you wake up to uh, to the time you go to bed. That's just the way that it is. Or maybe you don't do it every day. Like in my 20s, I didn't drink every day. I drank every other day, and that was typically because I drank a ton, drank like a fish, and then I was feeling so bad the next day that I didn't want to drink anymore that day. So then I'd be sober. So I kind of knew what it felt like to be sober, go do things sober, go places, uh, enjoy that, and not have to worry about drinking or driving while drinking. And so yeah, I made a plan. The plan was do as much research as I can. I Googled how to control my drinking, how to quit drinking, how to get sober, all those things. The first real thing that popped up that made sense to me was a book called This Naked Mind: How to Control Your Drinking. And I read that book in 2 days. I got to the end of it. It's a book by Annie Grace is her name, and it's called This Naked Mind. And the philosophy is basically choose not to drink, because it's more empowering to choose not to drink rather than feel like you're like forced into it or you're abstaining from it, like you want it but you can't have it kind of a situation. And try to drink or try not to drink for a one whole calendar year. Make that the goal, like to experience life and all the events that come within a calendar year. Like, oh, thanks, wild boar. Yeah, it's definitely it was digging a hole. I was digging myself a huge hole, and like I said, it took a long time to get out of. But man, I started noticing the benefits in the first week, and I really started noticing the benefits in the first month of not drinking. So shooting for a year was like something that you can't, I mean, fathom when you're not drinking early on. Like if you've drank all the time, every day, almost most days for 27 years, like I did, you know that thinking about a year from now is impossible. So I read that book. I got to the end. I joined the This Naked Mind community. I got on there. I started seeing that people were like sober for months and years. And here, this book is called How to Control Your Drinking. And even Annie Grace herself talked about how she went like 4 months without drinking for the first time and decided to do an experiment and got a bottle of wine and started filming her drinking one glass after another, and then the next day looked at her behavior and what she would say and what she would not remember the next day, and just kind of did that as an experiment and kind of was like cringing at it. You know what I mean? Like, yikes! It's that kind of solidified in her mind that she doesn't think that drinking is a good look anymore. And so I didn't get to a point where I needed to do that. I kind of already knew. I mean, I went through so many drinking sessions that I knew when you have to write down to remember things. Uh, yeah, choosing a better. Wild Boar says choosing to better yourself and be true to your word and real desire is more rewarding than intoxication. Absolutely, there's uh, especially when you get through an urge to drink, a strong urge at the beginning of trying to quit drinking, and you're stronger for the next one. Uh, because I mean, I had a lot of urges to drink early on. Of course, after a week went by, a week was about the longest I ever went, and I had a therapy session on like day 8 of being alcohol free, and I had bought a case of beer and put it in the fridge, and I said to myself, I'm going to that first therapy visit. When I'm done, I'm going to come home, I'm going to cut the lawn, and I'm going to drink those beers. Well, I went to that first therapy session. I told my therapist, my new therapist, uh, who actually was an addict himself and specialized in drug and addiction uh, recovery, said, I'm not condoning you go home and drink by any means. Like, you've made it like a week, so you should keep doing it. But if you're gonna drink, notice how you feel after one, after two, after three, and really make it a conscious effort to think about how you feel and see if you really like that. And if you do that, you might just decide that you don't feel good even drinking anymore. Well, I got home, and he did actually say during that session too that uh, you might be triggered by this therapy session because you have to talk about your feelings, you have to talk about your drinking and be vulnerable, and that might be triggering for you to want to drink. And he wasn't wrong, but the thing was it helped me really put into perspective what I thought about my drinking. So I got home, my wife and kids were out in the living room. I gave them a hug. I went to my room, and they were out there laughing and having a good time. And I thought to myself, why would I want to go to the fridge and drink one beer after another and wash away those those voices of the people that I love and care about so much? Why would I want to do that? I don't need one or two or three to think about how I feel. I know how I feel. I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to wash that away anymore. Uh, and wow, that that case of beer sat in my fridge for like 4 months, all summer, pretty much. I got to my birthday month and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna dump all this beer out. I'm done. I don't want it anymore. And I had to go through a lot of urges, and for whatever reason, having that beer in the fridge wasn't really tempting. I mean, it was on some days, but I had to allow myself to be vulnerable. Like I said, I wanted to be able to have one or two beers and then be done drinking. But that wasn't in the cards for me, I don't think. And even now to this day, being 5 years sober and learning what I've learned from that community and others that have gone through relapsing, I can tell that it's not really worth it to me to even bother trying to have one or two and then be done, because I feel better not drinking. It's not worth falling back into that pattern over, just to be like a regular drinker, so I can have a glass of champagne at a wedding, or a beer at the ball game, um, or whatever else you celebrate, things. You go to a birthday party or something, and they're having like like cocktails or wine or whatever. Like they can have that, and I can just go and just have a pop or a water and have a conversation or two, and then move on with my day. And the conversations are better anyway. Like, they're more authentic. I'm not saying things that I might regret. I'm not, uh, you know, risking getting in the car and having too many, having to drive home. And and anyway, I would just go home and drink more anyway, and then wake up hungover. So like, I don't have to deal with any of that at all anymore, and that's just freeing. It's better. Um, and so, as far as the controlling the alcohol goes, um, I thought that they were going to be talking about controlling drinking on there, and it was about sobriety. And I'm like, as I was like commenting, like posting and commenting on others' posts, I started to think, like, maybe they're onto something. Maybe not drinking is a goal. Maybe that's something I could shoot for, and that ultimately kind of helped me in my mindset. Say, like, maybe I'm not going to have one today or two. Maybe I'm going to have none. Get through this urge, and then feel stronger for the next one. So that's ultimately what I did. It was the camaraderie that helped me. It was having a community of like-minded people, because I could talk to my wife about my urges to drink and why I'm feeling like I need to escape and all these things, but she's not going to understand, coming from my addictive perception of it. She's not going to understand that addiction part of it. Only people that are going through it or have gone through it understand what it's like. Uh, I never really learned coping mechanisms. I turned to alcohol when I was 15 years old, and I never really learned how to cope. As soon as I had my first like beer, and then I had my first like buzz from drinking, I felt like, you know what? I found it. I found the solution to life. I found the elixir, the magical potion, that like took all your problems away. And man, I mean, it kind of did for a long time. I mean, I had some problems with it, but the benefits outweighed the bad stuff that was happening. So I think it just took all a series of bad things happening for it to finally like click in to say like more bad stuff's happening and it's outweighing the benefits of alcohol. It's causing me problems. I can admit that now, and it's making my anxiety, my panic, my what if brain, uh, the part of the brain that questions everything, like what if this happens, what if that happens? Oh my god, like it it's making everything worse, and that was really what I had to come to terms with, and that really ultimately helped me stay sober because I wasn't thinking of the good things anymore. I wasn't thinking all the good times that I had drinking. I was thinking about when I'd have an urge to drink, I would play it forward. I would play that drinking session forward, and then I would remember, yeah, it didn't solve one thing. It didn't solve one problem. And in fact, it made things worse because I said things while I was drinking that I wouldn't normally say. I was more defensive. I was irritable, and I had resentments. I had a lot of things that ruminations. I ruminated about things that happened 30 years ago uh, as a drinker, and and honestly, I mean, it took me like, and I don't want to discourage anybody, but like, it took me like 3 years to get to a point where all that went away. The urges to drink, the urges to escape with other things, like drugs, uh, would be one example. The ruminations about things that happened so long ago, the resentments, all those things took about 3 years of being alcohol free for me to really just be done with it. Like I don't crave it anymore, and that was frustrating. I mean, I'll be honest. Like that was one of the biggest frustrations. Was, man, I thought after like a year or 2 years, uh, that I wouldn't be thinking about alcohol anymore, or worried that I'm going to go to a party or an event or something like that and have FOMO, uh, fear of missing out, and look around and be like, man, I wish I could have one of those like craft beers that guy's having. Oh man, I wish I could toast with champagne like they're doing, and feel like you're missing out. Um, it took it like I said, it took me going to more events like that and actually putting myself in that situation helped me kind of um, get over that. Like I said, I enjoy going to places now and not drinking. Um, it's rewarding. I think it probably helps that a lot of people learned a lot about themselves during the pandemic time and even like the years following it, to say like, man, I turned to, like, as an example, weed became legal here in my state uh, in 2019. So in 2020, people were able to go pick it up and have it uh, delivered out to their car. I think people were still having it delivered to their homes, and people were, drinking more. Some people, I think, picked up drinking uh, out of boredom during the pandemic. I'm sure some younger people did, and um, it was at that time, during that time, that I just was like, I don't want to drink anymore. But I feel like some people learned a lot about like themselves during that time because we didn't have all those distractions. I mean, at least that's what it was like for me. And honestly, having conversations with people um, now and for the last couple of years, I've noticed some people that I never thought would be wanting to be alcohol free or even thinking about it. They're talking about it. And I think the word is kind of spreading that alcohol in any amount is bad for us. It's toxic, it's a toxin, and there's really no benefit. Those news reports that say like wine, like red wine is good for you, or alcohol in moderation is good for you, or one drink a day is good for you. It's good for your circulation. It's good for your brain, whatever. Like, uh, it's not. I think that's just a fault. It's not reality. Like alcohol in any amount, uh, your body's trying to push it out immediately, and that's where those bad feelings come in. Like you feel like you're like sweaty, or you feel like you have a headache, or you're having heart palpitations, or any of these things. Like it's happening because your body is rejecting the alcohol. It's trying to push it out of there, and then you have more than one or two or three or four, and you just keep on drinking, and your body is constantly trying to push that alcohol out. And if you drink like I did, it's still pushing it out the next day. So yeah, being done with alcohol is awesome. Yeah, the title of this was "How Do I Get Sober?" So just to wrap this up, I'll just say what worked for me was finding a community of like-minded people. Uh, Michael Montana says I knew this guy who took his kid with him to uh, blow under the interlock device so he could still drink and drive. The child blew into it. Yeah, that's a sign. That's a sign you have a problem for sure. I'm lucky that I never got to that point. I got a DUI when I was 19 years old. I kind of learned my lesson from drinking and driving at that time. It took me a year to get through it. And yeah, I had the license suspended for like 90 days. Had to pay at least a couple $1,000s in fines. I had to go to AA every week. I had to go to a one retreat for a weekend. And yeah, it wasn't fun. And I kind of learned my lesson that I'm not going to drink and drive. But actually, that kind of pushed me to drink in isolation more, and that wasn't healthy either. Uh, so yeah, I know what you're saying. Um, Hopefully, your friend can get some help and and get sober. Get over that fear of living life without alcohol. That's really what it takes. And but yeah, first things first, being admitting it to yourself that there's a problem there and that you don't want to drink anymore. You just want to try something new. Finding a community of like-minded people, whatever that community is. I have a Facebook group. It's a private group. It's called Sobriety in the Storm. Uh, the link is pinned in all my videos. You can join at any time. Love to have you. I can offer you support 24/7. Uh, and we have a group of about 20 people on there that can also help provide camaraderie and help for you to get and stay sober. I'm passionate about this. It's something that I really truly believe in my heart that I'm called to do. Uh, I believe that I can share my story and help those that need to get sober, need to find a better way of life. So a group of like-minded people, uh, allowing yourself to be vulnerable. I was already on an antidepressant for a couple years before I quit drinking, and then I was on it for 6 months after I quit drinking. I noticed that it was way more effective that I when I wasn't drinking. So the alcohol undid some of the benefits, and I had to keep increasing the dosage. Um, Michael Montana says, "I don't drink. Got a month or so, and then I drink every day for a couple of weeks, and hungover and hangovers. Nothing out of control yet, but I know it's just a matter of time." Definitely, it's a matter of time. If you notice it now, yeah, it's not going to get any better. I can tell you that from my experience, it doesn't get any better. It's just a slippery slope. And actually, on This Naked Mind, she uses the pitcher plant as an example of that of addiction. And some people can swear like drink the good stuff on the top of that pitcher plant. But some people like it so much that they drink it a little bit more, go into a little bit further and a little bit further until you slide down in it, and then you're at the bottom of it and you're stuck there. You can't get out. And that was definitely a good description of how I viewed my drinking. Like I was the one that was at the bottom guzzling, because I just that's just the life that I chose, that I wanted. It helped me escape, like I said, for a long time until it didn't. So if you see yourself um, using it to cope, using it to escape something that, like an uncomfortable feeling, something that maybe somebody said that hurt your feelings that day, um, or even something that happened months or years ago that you're still dwelling on. Uh, if you notice yourself like using alcohol to cope or escape, it's definitely something that you want to really take a hard look at. I know if you're younger, I mean, I don't know your age, but I know if you're younger, I there was no way I was going to quit in my 20s. I tried it in my 30s, and I may have had a little bit of success. It's usually because I was hungover, though. Like I just was like, I don't want to feel that way again, so I'd give it a week off, but then I'd end up right back to it. So it wasn't until I was 42 that I was really able to be like, man, I don't like the way that my hangovers are anymore. It's taken too long to get over them. Um, and my wife said something to me when I first opened up to her when I was like 37. And she just said, you're going to need like a long time away from it to really see the benefits, not like a week, maybe not even like a month, like 6 months or a year. And I really didn't want to face that, um, and I wasn't ready to face that yet. But yeah, I had to, because it was either going to be I was going to just go all in and die from drinking, or get some kind of serious medical issue, um, or be done with it. So, like I said, the antidepressants were another thing, and then uh, after 6 months, I was off of the antidepressants. Um, all the meetings in my area are full of people that have been there for years, and it's all about them and not the guy that has a week sober. Yeah, that's kind of why those meetings never worked for me. I tried it. Well, I had no choice when I was 19 and I got the DUI. I had to go to those meetings and get the paper signed at the end, and I had to do that for a year. Um, but I did try AA again in my 30s, and I went, and there was like me and one other guy, and it was weird. We had to go through all the same things that they go through every week, the Serenity Prayer, and then talk about the 12 steps, and then get into the discussion about what we're doing. But and that went on for an hour, but it was just me and him. Uh, that's why this group, This Naked Mind, resonated with me so much. I could get on it at any time. It was available 24/7. When I posted something, and I would come back like an hour later, there was like 20 comments, and a lot of them were helpful to help me get through that urge. Um, and if you have someone in your life also that you can talk to, like I have my wife. Having her to talk to while I was having those urges was huge. Uh, like I said, I wasn't working for 3 months during the beginning of the pandemic, so uh, I was at home all the time. And if her and I were sitting outside together or sitting together, I would just bring up the fact that I was having like cravings to drink today and like why. And then we might talk about it for a little bit, and then I'd go back onto my community on the app uh, and read what they had to say. And by then, I was already through that urge to drink, and I didn't have it anymore that day. And like I said, I didn't have urges like frequently. They were like maybe like one every few days, and then it became more like maybe once a week. And then after like 3 months, I didn't have any strong urges anymore. Like I think I got through enough of them to say like I don't need alcohol anymore, and I'd rather just make it to 6 months now, and I'll see how I feel at 6 months, and then make it to that 1 year. But breaking it down into increments, like I'm gonna do a week, see how I feel. If I feel better, I'm gonna continue on. But it takes community. We can't do it alone. It takes willpower. You're here. You're watching this video. That's huge. Um, Keep watching videos, either mine or others. You can join my community on Facebook. Um, but yeah, there is. I mean, I'm 5 years sober, but I still feel like I'm back there. Like I get it. Um, there's no superiority complex here. There's no cliques. That's what it was like in those meetings, and I get what you're saying. Like nobody really cares about the person who's just starting out, but those are the people that matter the most. You're the person that matters the most. So I'm glad that you're here. Um, so yeah, come on over to my channel if you haven't liked or subscribed, and let's share this journey a little bit and go from there. But I got to get going. I got to go to work now. But I do these meetings every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I'm going to continue doing those. Uh, I'll be here at 10 o'clock on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and yeah, I hope to see you there. So have a great day, Michael, and everybody else that joined: Wild Boar, Darren, Jake, Jackson, Adam, Mila. I'm glad that you all joined in. So have a great sober day, everybody, and we'll talk to you next time. Have a great weekend.